Now, is there anyone out there who wants to go fast? Anybody?
I want to go fast.
Yeah, we do too. Hey guys, Ryan with Golf Carts Modified coming at you. We're going to be doing another AC install video. This time we're going to be installing a Navitas 4 kilowatt 600 amp controller on a Yamaha G22. We're going to do a little G-body shuffle. Guys, this kit also works on the G16 and the G19. We're going to be going through the wiring harness and everything that you need to learn on how to put an AC Navitas, not Navitas, Navitas. Be doing a Navitas AC system on your Yamaha. Let's get going. Okay, so before we get started, just like every other time you've watched one of my videos, guys, remember, safety first. These motors are big, they're heavy. If you're not careful, they will hurt you. Second of all, guys, it's always a good practice when you're doing a motor swap, and doesn't matter if it's an AC swap or even if you're doing a DC setup. Always remember to properly lift your cart, put them on jack stands. The last thing you want to do is have one of these things accidentally come alive, take off through a garage door or run over somebody. So always remember, put those carts in the air. Now let's go have some fun. So the cart we're working on today is a Yamaha G22. This kit that we're doing is a full G29 harness swap on a G22. So we're gonna go over the G29 harness and show you guys how to retrofit it to the G22. Now, this works for the G22, the G19, and the G16. And I'm pretty sure you can convert this harness over to later harnesses. This is the cart we had here to work with, so this is what we're going to show you on. I will mention that the G22 was the very first Yamaha electric cart to come out with 48 volts, which makes this a little bit easier swap, because you don't have to change out batteries or do any of that mess. Now, the G22 harness is very similar to the G29 harness, but yet is not similar in a lot of ways. So plan is to pull out this factory G22 harness, and then I'll put it up next to the new G29 harness, and then we'll kind of walk through what some of the wires are. That way it'll be a lot easier for you guys to follow that instead of me just throwing it in the cart. All right, let's pull this harness out. All right, so we have a Yamaha G22. Guys, this is a 48 volt cart. Like I said, the harness is a little different from a G29, which is why we have to swap out to a G29 controller and wiring harness. Now remember, anytime you're working with an electric cart, you always want to disconnect your positive and negative cables first. That way we don't accidentally short anything or electrocute ourselves. Now, as you can see, I've already taken the back seat off this cart. This is going to give us a lot more room. Trying to do this kit with the body on is hard enough. Doing it with the back seat kit on is really hard. Now, as you can see, this customer has already upgraded from the stock controller to a Navitas 440. This cart was running probably 16 to 17 miles when I checked it. It had good torque, but it just wasn't enough for what the customer wanted. So we're going to be taking all of these cables out, replacing the solenoid. We're going to be pulling out this harness. We'll be covering why we're changing the harness, and then show you how to swap everything over. Okay, like I said before, after you get the cart lifted, you want to take your seat off, take your back seat kit off. You want to get your positive and negative unhooked. Now, this cart has a floor mat, but it wasn't very difficult to take off. Now, in order to do this and make this easier, the nice thing about the G22 is you can go in right here and you can lift up this plate and pull it out, and that'll give us access to all of our throttle assembly and make wiring this a little bit simpler. Okay, side note, while we're here, doing this kit, we don't have to remove the batteries. Now, anytime you're doing a swap, you always want to check for stuff like this. Guys, this is always a killer of electrical systems. DC batteries are horrible about corrosion. Now, he does have some protective film on it, but you know, sometimes that protective film just isn't enough. So we're gonna go ahead and clean these batteries up, and let's go ahead and start ripping this harness out of this cart. Okay guys, I spared you the tear out of the harness. It really wasn't that hard. You just work, the easiest way is to work from the back to the front. Go ahead and get all your stuff undone from the back, drop it down, start working your way forward. The Yamaha G22 is actually pretty simple. It has foldable metal tabs that hold the harness in place. There are a couple little push pin connectors. I'm just gonna zip tie the new one back in place because I don't have any of these fancy ties. Guys, after really looking at this harness, this really isn't that difficult. It looks a little confusing, but it's really not. In fact, a lot of these plugs are the same. So we're gonna go through this step by step. The main thing you'll notice on a G22 connector, you get this big, red, bulky weather pack, okay? Well, on a G29, it's an orange one, and it's a little different. So you can see the difference, okay? Now, the AC controller is made for a G29, so this is why we're running a G29 harness. Now, let's kind of go over this G22 harness. You're gonna come down off the main plug, and you're gonna have 2 red wires into a white connector. Guys, this is what goes to the activation wires on your solenoid. And then this red wire goes to the main positive end on your solenoid. Underneath that, you have a fuse. So on the G29 kit, you come down out of the harness, and these first 2 red wires, instead of being to the solenoid, these actually go to the run tow switch. And if you go look on Navitas' website, guys, the G29 wiring diagram matches all of these colors to a T. This is the easiest way. If you get lost, you can always go back to their website, go look up the G29 wiring harness, and follow it. And it's really pretty basic. It's not that difficult. So one of the main differences is you come down and you have a fusible link that's blocked off. And there's one on the G22 as well. This is a G29 harness. The main difference is, if you look at this line, okay, here is your activation plug, and then here is your main power plug. So it's a little different, but it's set up the same. Now, on the G29 harness, you will have this wire come out with a red, black, and green. This is for a factory speed sensor for a factory motor. You will not use this one. So this one that's coming off right here with the gray fusible link, you don't need it. Come down, there is your main harness fuse. It's a 3 amp fuse, just like on the G22. Okay, we're gonna jump back to the G22 harness. Now, on the G22 harness, way further down is where the run tow switch wires are. Okay, which is kind of weird that it's that much further down, but they are 2 different carts. So you're also going to notice a 3-prong connector right here. Okay, I don't even think this one was plugged in when I pulled this out. I think this is the one that goes to this. This is the speed sensor cable off of the G22. Like I said, it's a little different. So yeah, that's the speed sensor one. My bad. Okay, coming further down, this is where we got to start paying attention. This is one of the only main differences in this harness, is right here. Now, I will say this, where some of the plugs in the harness are supposed to be are a little different. Like the G29, some of the stuff is pushed further down. So you might have to extend some wires just a little bit, but it's not that hard. So one of the main things that you're gonna do, or that I'm gonna do, is this plug right here, okay? This is a orange, black, and blue wire. This is what goes to the potentiometer in your pedal box, okay? And if you notice, it has a little 3-prong connector. So on the G29, it's way down here. Now, Still color coded the same, black, blue, and orange, but the connection is different. So what we're going to do is we're going to chop this connection off, and we're going to chop this connection off the G22 harness, and I'm probably going to solder mine in, but you can butt connect it or you can extend it however you want. But I'm going to take this off and put it back here. That way we can still use the existing plug on the stock pedal box. That way you don't have to sit there and put bullet connectors and all that. So we're just going to cut this harness and take this plug off. Now on the other G29 harness, this link was way further up in the harness, and on this one it's way further down, but it's not going to mess with you, so don't worry about it. Okay, now on the G22 you have a brown and a red wire. Okay, these go to the other side of your pedal switch. This is for your micro switch. Okay, what's crazy is if you go on the G29 harness, it has the exact same plug, so you don't even have to switch it out. It's the same plug. It plugs right in, so easy peasy. Now you keep scrolling down the harness, we're starting to get to the end. Now this is the one cool thing I like about Yamaha's, is all their stuff is pretty much plug and play. There's not a whole lot of splicing or anything like that. This was unplugged on the cart that we're doing. This is for your backup beeper, okay? Now it's the same on the G29 harness. I'm not gonna plug it back in. I don't ever plug mine in. Some people do. Here's what I thought was really cool, because I really thought I was gonna have to strip and cut and do a whole bunch of butt connecting or soldering, and it really looks like I'm only gonna have to change one connection out of this whole harness, believe it or not. I mean, this is gonna be just as easy as doing a TXT or a 39,000 harness. There's really not that much to it. So now, I said that this is on a G22. Now on a G19 and a G16, guys, I hadn't worked on a G19 or a G16. So I don't know that all of these connections will be the same on the older models, but you can still follow this, what we're showing, and this will go all back to the same location on the older carts. On the G22 wiring harness, you have a triangle 3-prong. This goes to your forward and reverse switch. Then you have a dual white plug. This goes to your key switch. Well, guess what? On the G29 harness, it's the same thing. So this really wasn't that difficult of a harness to diagnose. Now I do think I'm probably gonna have to extend some wires. Probably the run toe switch wires, I think I'm gonna have to extend. And I'm probably gonna go ahead and extend the wires on the foot switch. And the only reason it is because the harness is laid out a little bit different. But it's really not that hard to extend 3 wires. I mean, you're gonna cut, strip, and either solder or crimp. So it's not that hard. This is something everybody can do. So yeah, we pulled out the old G22 harness. And like I said, the only thing that we're gonna change is on the foot switch. We're gonna take this plug off of the G22 harness, and we are going to switch out this little guy right here, because I don't have another connection to put in the cart for that. So we're gonna go orange, black, and blue, back to the orange, black, and blue on that plug. And we're gonna start wiring everything up. So yeah, it's really not that bad. The thing that kind of caught me was crazy is really the only difference in the whole kit is the main harness, is the main plug. Everything else is pretty much the same. You're just really, I guess because Navitas only makes a controller for a G29. So you gotta have that plug, guys. If you ain't got the orange G29 plug, you ain't gonna be running the AC kit, I guess. So, all right, well, now that we got that wrapped up, I guess we're gonna have to crawl back under this cart, start putting all this together. Woo! It's only 109 degrees here at night, so time to do a little sweating. Okay, so on our G22, we're gonna be doing a Navitas 600 amp AC controller. Now guys, this is just like all your other controllers. You're gonna get it, you'll have an instruction book, you get a sticker, you get your 600 amp AC controller. Now with this kit, we're gonna be running the 4 kilowatt motor. And the reason I'm running a 4 kW instead of a 5 kW on this is the 4 kW fits a whole lot better in the Yamahas. Because of the coilover suspension, the 4K gives you just a little bit more wiggle room and they're a lot easier to install. The 5K you can put on it, you have to have a certain lift to do it. The 4K is nasty on these Yamahas. So, also included with your kit, you'll get your hardware box. And your hardware box will also come with an extra cable. Guys, I build cables for all of these carts. I never use my green cable. I literally have probably 30 of these laying around the house. You will have an OTF with a key. You will have your speed and thermal sensor. You will have a hardware pack to put the mounting plate in. And then it also comes with an aluminum mounting plate. This is all included in your kit. Just like almost every other AC kit, there are a couple that don't have the plate. Green cable comes with everything. Gotta have these. So guys, let's get to the fun part. Let's start bolting this stuff in. So as you can see, we already have our MZJ 400 mounted in the stock location where the other solenoid was. Now guys, I went ahead and took the plug off of the old solenoid, and it doesn't matter which post you put your wires on. This is an omnidirectional solenoid. I went red on the left side, black on the right side. Doesn't really matter. You can swap it for whatever. So now we already got our solenoid mounted. Next thing we're going to have to do is mount our plate. Okay, so we have our mounting plate out. Now on this G22 application, you're going to line up where you have the center hole facing the driver's side of the cart, and then the 2 bigger holes facing the passenger side. We're going to be using the concave head screws to mount this. Slide it into place. Now that our plate is in, we're going to be mounting our new 600 amp Navitas AC controller. We're going to be using the hardware that we got from the kit. Guys, these are an 8mm screw. Always remember, when you put your screws on, you go lock washer and flat washer. Now I'm going to go ahead and put one on and get it started. Now, if you see this right here, that's because it's 108 degrees in Texas today, and I have to turn my air conditioners off in my garage so that y'all can hear me. So every time I lean on there, you get a nice little sweatband going. Guys, remember, be safe when you're doing this. Don't be like Ryan and doing this when it's 100 degrees outside. If you do, make sure you go inside and cool off every now and then. It is hot. Okay. On the G29 harness, they do have a wire that goes to the main side of the solenoid. Guys, you're gonna need to cut this off. You're gonna wanna be putting a bigger eyelet for a 3/8 post. This is gonna be going on the hot side of the solenoid. Now guys, when I say hot side, I mean the side of the solenoid that is going to the positive on the battery pack. So go ahead and get you a 3/8 eyelet, and crimp it on and get it shrunk down. Make sure it's nice and tight. You don't want that thing coming off. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull this wire out of this loom. This is for our pedal box. This is going to be going to the potentiometer. Guys, the colors match up: blue to blue, orange to orange, black to black. Now, because some of you guys probably don't know how to solder, or if you don't have a soldering iron, I'm going to go ahead and use a butt connector this time. That way you guys can see how I do it. Now, you can use spade connectors, bullet connectors, butt connectors, pretty much any way just to make a connection. But we're gonna take that head that we did and get them all nice and butt connected there. Okay, so we've already got our motor wires ran down. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a 14-inch jumper and we're gonna go from one side of the solenoid over to the B positive on the controller. Now guys, with an AC kit, you don't have to have any type of diode or resistor to run with this kit. So don't worry about having a diode or resistor on the solenoid. You don't need it. And yes, these washers can be kind of tough to get off sometimes, especially if you got big fingers. This takes a 5/8. Now you want to tighten this down, but leave it to where you can still move your cable. Now remember, you have to have a 10mm for all the bolts on your controller, and all of these should be torqued down to around 7 foot-pounds. That's what the manual calls for. Now, I don't have a torque wrench that measures in 7, but I've installed enough of these. I know just about how tight to get them. You don't want any movement, but you also don't want to over tighten these. Alright guys, let's kind of go over what we have going on here. So, we have the main positive wire coming off the main positive on the battery. It goes to this side of the solenoid, okay? And it doesn't matter, on the solenoid, this is the way yours is going to be facing. Now, the red wire that we changed the eyelet on, it goes on top. We have our 2 activation wires going to our small post. Then we have this cable running over to the B positive. Now W goes to W on the motor, V goes to V on the motor, U goes to U on the motor, B negative goes to the negative battery in the pack, and R is not used. Repeat, guys, you don't use R on any AC kits. Also, don't forget, when you put your motor in, all of these have to be torqued down, and don't forget your boots. A lot of people do. Now, this harness fit in pretty good. It went in a lot easier than I thought. I didn't even have to extend the run toe switch, which on the G22, this run toe switch was right here. Everything fit in pretty easily. The harness runs through the bottom. Now, getting the loom up through the top was a little bit more of a challenge than I thought, but it wasn't hard. Guys, having this access panel open really helps. So you have a connection right here. This is where your brown and red wire go for the micro switch, okay? And then the other connection is underneath, and on this cart out of the box there's a big green wire, and that's what the orange, blue, and black wire come out of. Now, everything lined up pretty good. I might have put a little bit too long of wire, which I'm gonna have to come back in and clean up, which I haven't zip tied anything, but you can see the other plug went in good. Now I'm probably gonna shorten my lead because I didn't realize that this lead came all the way over. Now I will be tying this up. Guys, this is a small gray wire that goes to a charging port. You're not gonna use it on this cart, so zip tie it up out of the way. Everything else falls right in line, and you zip tie it in. Now, something I will say that's kind of cool on this one, let's see if I can get in here. This cart has a bunch of these metal tabs that fold over all your wire harness. Now, there are some pieces I will have to zip tie up, but when I get done, this ought to be a pretty clean installation. Okay, due to the fact that there was a dash and there was a bunch of other stuff plugged in and I didn't want to take it all apart, when you go to do your forward reverse switch, if you look, it's got it won't pull through. So it plugs into that triangle plug, okay? And it was all that stuff plugged in real easy. The key switch plugged in, everything plugged in nice and neat. Now I'm gonna have to clean up and put the dash back in. We got to throw the seats back on and zip tie everything up and clean it all up. But for the most part, this installation is done. Now, next step is to go into the app and double check and make sure we have the correct firmware, which I'm fixing to show you. But guys, it really wasn't that bad of an install. I mean, I was really kind of thinking it was going to be harder than this. It really wasn't that bad. So like I said, everything on this is pretty much plug and play. You can reuse the plug from the old solenoid to go to your activation wires. Always remember to make sure to get these tight. You don't want any loose connections. Resistance is bad in an electrical system. Also guys, if you haven't done an AC kit or seen one of my other videos, don't forget your thermal sensor and speed sensor. You plug those in, and then you have, always remember, your OTF goes to the right, your main harness is in the middle, and then right here is where your thermal and speed sensor plug into. Guys, always make sure to plug those in or you ain't gonna be running very far. So, total install time, if I wasn't videoing this, probably would have taken about 3.5 hours. Now, if you take the body off, it might go a little quicker, but it really wasn't that bad. That motor actually went into place without too much problems. Okay, so I didn't video putting the motor in. For one, it was 109 degrees and I was sweating profusely. Now, I will tell you guys this. On the G22, and I will show you this because I haven't put it back in place yet, I did have to take the shock out of the bottom loop and pull it back. So that you can see where I scarred the paint a little bit trying to get it in with one hand. Guys, if you can get help, get help. Even the 4K is heavy. So I will have to lift the back of the cart up to get this coil spring in, but wasn't that bad. It's pretty easy. I will say this, I put it in by myself, but if you have two people, get two people. And always remember, guys, on the G29s, G22s, they provide extra bolts for your motor. Always make sure to put in all 6 bolts. This motor still produces a ton of torque. So put all your bolts in, make sure you got them tight, and never use your bolts to squeeze your motor up. Get your motor up tight and then tighten down. All right, guys, once you get the AC kit installed, you're going to download the app. First thing we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we see that we have the controller right there. The card is turned on. We're going to pick this TAC 065 number. This is going to bring up our dashboard. Now, guys, the cart was in reverse. The Yamahas only have forward and reverse. There is no neutral like a club car or an EasyGo. We're going to check this real quick and just make sure everything looks good. We don't have any error codes, forward, reverse, looking good. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to come over here and we're going to drop over here to the engineering tab, or I'll say engineering tab, the tabs up top, 3 little lines. This is going to take us to where we could check out our firmware. Now guys, we're going to download the correct firmware for this cart, which is the Yamaha G29 600 4K. Now your version might be different depending on when you watch this video. We're going to hit firmware, drop. It's going to come in here, it's going to drop and it'll boot. It's going to take a while. Typically, I want to say mine takes normally 3 to 4 minutes. Sometimes it does it faster. Kind of just depends on the day, I guess. All right, programming is done. You're going to hit OK. Next thing you're going to do after that is done is you're going to, oh, we got a fault. What it hit? Parameter, oh, we better fix that. We're going to go in here. We're going to hit initialize. Yep. Once you hit initialize, back out. Then it'll, once it's done, hit save. And almost there. Boom. Now we're ready to go. All right, guys. Now our controller firmware is updated. We're ready to go. But before we do, we're going to make a couple changes. We're going to come in here and check out our OTF. Make sure there's nothing we need to change in here. Might bump up this speed just a little bit. Yeah, we're going to take that from 25 and I think we're going to bump it up to about 30. Oh, no, I didn't do the speed. Nope, got to go down and hit save. Guys, after you make any changes, always remember to hit save. Okay, let's go back up. What did I change? I think I left it at 25 miles an hour. Check all of our battery voltage, our discharge limit, everything looks good. Not gonna change anything. OTF, ooh, 34.9. Yeah, we better change that. I don't wanna be rolling on 35% acceleration. I'm gonna bump that bad boy all the way up to 100. Oh, 75. I don't know why I did 75. I don't really do 100. I like to go wide open throttle, you know what I mean? But it wasn't my cart, so maybe that's why I did it. Yeah, we're gonna go down one more time. We're gonna hit save changes. Once that's done, check everything one more time. Everything looks good. Go back to our dashboard. No faults, no error codes. We're good to go. It's time to go have some fun. Oh, check that out. We got movement. Oh. Now, yeah, I was on jack stands, so there was no restriction against the tires. So, guys, if you're on jack stands, don't floor your cart. It's with no restriction on the cart, no resistance. You could damage stuff if you do it too fast, because you can spin this sucker pretty fast with no resistance on it. So just give it a few little test bumps and then put it back down on the ground and go have fun. Well, as you can see, it's been a pretty sweaty day here in Houston. It was about 109 today. So I did have to do a lot of the filming today and then do voiceover, which I don't like doing because I like being more personal with you. But guys, it was so hot, I had to have both my ACs running. Even with those running, it was miserable. I hope that this video covers everything that you needed to see on the Yamaha G22 swap. Now remember, this isn't just for the G22. You can also do this swap with a G19 and a G16. Difficulty rating, about a 4 out of 10. I think just about anybody could do this. Guys, like I said, this install wasn't really that hard. Even on the older carts like the G16 and stuff, this is a pretty easy swap. I hope this video helped. If you liked it, make sure to like and subscribe. Guys, also make sure to go follow us on Facebook and TikTok. Try to keep getting these videos out. I know it's been a while since I've got one out. It's been pretty busy. Appreciate it, and remember, go modify.